an idea is like a baby. You give birth to it, you keep nurturing it. At that beginning stage, you know that this baby need maximum attention. It needs to be fed regularly. It needs to be monitored because it can't stand on his own. But you get to a stage where that baby can walk on his own. All you just need to do is you can sit back and guide him. Okay, don't go there, don't go there. And the Bible says, teach your child in the way you should go, so that when you grow old, you can keep to that. Depart. Yes, it will not depart. It's a business principle. So, as a CEO, it does not mean you have to be locked down on the share, but until you build structure, until you build system, until you build a proper staffing,
okay,
until you put standard KPI, so what can measure your processes, what can measure all the system you have put in place to make sure that people is meeting up with your goals and objectives, you can't step out. But you don't have a business until you can sit back and leave the business to go.
Very warm greetings and welcome to The Conversation. We're reaching you from Kftan's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Annabelle Oji. Today, we'll turn our attention to business matter, ease of doing business, and how some businesses, especially some multinational companies, have left Nigeria, what exactly happened, and what we can do to prevent such again. Remember during the election and the campaign season, or the electioneering season, where you had campaign promises like, I would make sure companies will bring in foreign direct investment, will make sure our local investors are staying, and then they are ready to invest more in our country. But then when the naira in the at the official rates to the dollar is over 1,400, and at the black market you have it for over 1,500, how do you expect these entrepreneurs or these businesses to thrive? And then you go to other parts. When you pick up one particular item, in 5 minutes later, you go back to take that same item. They will tell you it has already gone up. And what is the problem? Is it a security issue or dollar don't rise? And that's what we're facing today in Nigeria. But then you begin to wonder, how would businesses thrive? How would they continue in such an economy? My guest on the show today would help us do justice to this topic of discussion for today. And my guest is Ayoade Kikiowo, who is the head of marketing at Almami Industries. Okay, great to have you on the show today, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm so proud to be here also. Thank you for having me. Great.
Welcome. All right, now let's start by talking about let's first of all get to understand what's introduce Almami, what you do, and where we can find Almami.
Okay, so Almami Industry Limited is a company created out of the necessity to mitigate the production gap that we have in the country. So Nigeria has been identified as a consumer nation over the time, and you know, we find it necessary that we have to bridge a gap. You find out that even to the slightest of things in Nigeria, to your toothpick, most of these things are brought in from, and it's not because we don't have the skill set here, but it's because people have not really put in their work and also get themselves to think deeply about how we can start with what we have to start building something that we can create and use here for Nigeria. So, and Mami have position in that gap, and since we started, we already quite have our fingers in quite a number of industry. The interior industry, we are producing rock and carpet, fabrics. In the construction part, we are producing security doors, internal doors, and the first of the kind top world standard glass factory in Abuja as of today. The other part, anywhere you can find, is maybe in Lagos and is owned by foreign companies. So we have it now in Abuja. We are at Idu Industrial Layout. And we are still expanding. We have CNC side where we can fabricate metal, steel, acrylic, cutting edge technology, just to make sure that we can get a lot of things in the market that could get the company economy also running. Things produced here for our people here, and also for the betterment of our people and the economy.
Okay, so I like the fact that you said that there are things produced here. So it means that you do more of local production than either you have to import or importation, yeah?
So the issue is the level or the state of our technology now in Nigeria is still limited to. Definitely, you still have to leverage on the foreign expertise to get some things done. But we get it done. So instead of just saying we're going outside to bring in those, so now we can bring in machines needed to put it together and get source for some of our raw materials also here. Get it to foreign standard, put them together to meet with the foreign standard, and also the quality control to make sure that at least we are. So just that working together synergy. So we see our foreign partner also we work with, and also technical support from our foreign colleague also to make sure that because the standard, we don't want it low, we don't want it beyond what Nigerians are used to. So just that kind of a thing.
Okay, so what's your yardstick for measuring standard? Because if you look at especially in today's Nigeria, you buy biscuit, and then the biscuit that you used to know that had 4, now you're seeing 2, and the 2 is almost dropped. You buy pasta, you can even use your eyes to calculate or count how many sticks you find inside. Same thing with almost everything. Standard has dropped. And then you have people who ask you, what is SON doing in this regard? What are FCCPC doing in this regard? What is NAFDAC doing in this regard? And all. So how do you now measure your own standard to ensure that what I bought when you started, when Almami started, is what I'm still getting? I'm still getting that same value for my money today.
So, it's part of reason why we see a lot of business fizzle out with a matter of time in business, because for every industry, there are quality control mechanisms. Some are institutions to put measures in what is going out, what is being produced, what is being sent to the market, where SON comes into place, where NAFDAC comes into place, where quite a number of other agencies come into place. So for us, it's not just about the profit, because this is what makes companies, organizations shift from the nobody want to take inferior product to the market, but once the focus is not on the solving problem, because the whole essence of business is to give solutions to the society. You identify a problem and you can create a solution to it. You can help people meet some quality problem or pains that they are facing. So once the focus shifts from that and the focus is on the money, so there's no how you not deviate from keeping to your standard operating procedure and making sure that your priority is quality. And also definitely the whole essence of business is also to generate profit, because if the business is not generating profit, there's no how you can keep yourself running. Definitely within the time we always fizzle out. So what we do at Almami is there's standard we measure ourselves into. There's what endures before we get into the business and into the business market. So we keep this as our core guiding principle, parting our way. So profit is important, but the most important thing is the standard. There's an industry standard, and there's and all our clients, this is what they have known us to be, and this is what they are also. So even if the price is not compared to what they have, because you have a lot of mass-produced items out there, you have a lot of mass-produced items that it's difficult if you want to keep to your standard to meet up with those mass-produced items in the marketplace. But people that know us know that we stand with our quality, and that's why they are choosing Almami. Okay,
so now because I hear you talk about profit, so in this day in Nigeria, with regards to ease of doing business, where you know that entrepreneurs, they are the ones that have to source for their own electricity, they are the ones that have to source for almost everything, and then the ease is no longer, the ease is not even there. It's not even easy to do business. And then I hear you still talk about profit. How are you able, or how will the average entrepreneur, Nigerian market, SME or MSME, be able to withstand all that is happening, all the economic shocks, and still at least not a drop standard or benefit, but still and still get their costs?
So in business, there are things that you can't control, and it's still part of why we have businesses fail, and there are things you can control. So we have economic challenges, where we have policies that are against businesses. Day by day, those policies are made in the House of Representatives and in the Senate. Those you can't change. You can make your comments, you can make your contribution, you can protest, but you can't change it. You can't determine what happened in the Senate. There are infrastructural structures like the electricity you made mention of, which are things you can't change. Those are on the part of the government to provide. We have things like security that affect businesses, road transportation, moving your business to and fro. These are things that affect businesses. These are external factors that you can't, as a business person, because of the limitation of your authority, you can't change. But there are things within your confine that you can change, which is still part of. So those factors I mentioned, I count it to be external factors which kill businesses, but there's little or nothing you can do about it. Okay. Which is why you see a lot of investors run away from countries where they have they don't have a stable economic structures and all these things. So these are factors when people are coming in to invest in a country, they look at the stability of some certainty. Definitely there will be ups and downs, but at least on the barest minimum, you know that you can always have a turnover at the end of the day. So when you talk about SMEs and small business owners, that or even large corporation, and how do they combine all this joint together, the dollar to naira losing value day by day, and still want to make profit. So this is where it now comes to, there are things you can change on the inside. Okay. Definitely this have an effect, but since inception, things have always, there have never been a time where we always compare this with this. Yeah. But there have never been a time that people say, oh, this is a good time. It's until when the good time goes, and you say, oh, no, we'll have preferred that to now. So still, even in the middle of all this, companies are still running. People are still making their profit regardless. So what is happening? So because there's an internal mechanism in every organization that if you, as a business owner, if you don't take cognizance of, it will be combining with the outside. So what are the internal things that you can control? So you want to look at your structure, you want to look at your system, you want to look at your staffing, you want to look at your standard. So these are things you can control within inside.
What do you mean by structure?
So for every organization, I say regularly, structure creates flow. So for every organization, when you see an organization not growing, there are either two things: is that they don't have structure or little structure. So I call structure compartmentalization of a business. So look at the production, the marketing, the delivery, and also the administration. Okay. So you see a lot of business, they have little or no this. So you see, so you know, there's this popular saying that okay, when we grow big, we will do this. But you don't grow big to manage well, you manage well to grow big. So if you want to wait till when the business get big before you can start putting all these things into compartmentalization and putting this structure in place, your business will never grow to that level. And that's why you see quite a number of businesses at structural level, they fail. So they call it solopreneur. So you have one person is the one in charge of marketing, is the one in charge of administration, is the one doing the delivery, sales, is the one doing the production. You might start that way, but every business you see is a product of the brain. It started from the brain. So there's no it doesn't cost more to think big. So you just put in those structure, having that mindset, that structural planning from start, it helps you. So you know, the whole essence of saying you want to go into business is to have your freedom. You understand? So when you have a business that can't run without you, if you have a business that every time you will get overwhelmed at the end of the day. So the whole essence of starting the business, you will not get it because you'll be tied down with the business, you'll be overwhelmed every time with the business, time wasted, and you get frustrated quickly. And that's one of the reasons why business fail. You want to also look at the system. So system, I describe it as set of processes or actions, sequences that run day to day in a business. So you want to look at let's say marketing now, let's say production. A production in a business, so every one of us is in business of product. So either we are selling service or we are selling a product.
Or an idea.
Yes. So either way you want to look at it. So there's a production part of every business. Okay. And you have to have a system, a sequence of operation in that production part. You want to go to your marketing, a sequence of operation in your marketing part. You have to go to delivery. What are the sequence? What are the actions? What are the tasks day by day to keep that department running? You want to go to your administration, record keeping, stock keeping, bookkeeping, you know, quite a number of things that sum up to be the administrative part of that business. take a small business to even a kiosk system. If you have a good structure, it's just a matter of time that business will grow to be something big. Look at a lot of big corporations that we have today, people that have been dominating the market quite a number of time. When you take your time and dig into their biography, you see that many of them started very small, but at the back of your mind, their mind, there are people that have always have that mindset, because you don't grow big to manage well. You have to start from that beginning. And once you have all this set, you want to look at your staffing, because you need people to run the system, you need people to run the department that you have put in place. But I want to think that how can a small business still generating, still struggling to break even, bring in that number of staff? So you are not compared to bring them in. There are a series of ways you can put all these things into play. You might want to get people on part-time, you might want to get people on contract-based, freelance some part, even contract some part out, and there are even software that could help you manage some things that could get the job done. You might want to, there are technologies in place that could do quite a number of things for you.
All right.
Because these are the internal things that you can control as a business person. The external part, from till Jesus come, people will always have issues to complain, but there are things that you can't change. There are things you can change. So within your own business organization, these are things you can put in place. You might want to start looking at your structure. You want to look at your system, your staffing, and your standard.
Okay. So I hear you talk about the organizational structure, and then I hear you still talk about how businesses have failed over time. Now let's bring example of some of these businesses that have left Nigeria. P&G, Procter & Gamble. We all grew up to know Procter & Gamble. And then I remember that time when we used to grow up, and then they would tell you, if you eat XYZ from Pringles, it means that they had so many misconceptions at the time. But then if you look at companies like GSK, we all also grew up to know GSK. You look at companies like Dunlop, Michelin, all of those companies. And then I hear you talk about organizational structure. Are you saying that and then you also talked about the internal and then the external challenges that they need to look at. Are you saying that these companies that has left Nigeria, they did not do their due diligence in terms of the organizational structure or their internal and external environment? So,
you're even going too far. So even till now, we have, we are in the industrial part, so we are more current about what is going on in the industrial part of the business. Day by day, we have companies, big organizations that many of you know quite a lot about, are selling off. So they want people to come and buy the old machinery because they've taken time. The cost of taking them back might even be very high, so they need people to just come buy it. And when we look at so the Fortune 500 organization, that everything looks big from the outside, but when you go inside and put on your entrepreneurship glass and look things in the business, where you see that most of the time it always looks big on the inside, but deep down people have not really there. So you see an organization very big, but at the end of the day, the whole bulk of operations still go around the table of one person.
Okay.
There's no business that can scale as a solopreneur. So I'm not saying that's the reason why many of them fail, but businesses fail because of all these factors that we have identified. Nothing just happens. Something makes something to happen. So if a business is not generating profit, it's important to look at why. So most of the time, people have money, and they just believe they could put money and just get people to run it, because nobody can think for you. You understand? And anything you don't work cannot work. So if you don't take your time as a business person, as a CEO, to really, I take time to read biography of successful business owners that have run large corporation, and over time I've taken time. There's a statistic that 25% of new business fail in their first 2 years, 45% fails in their first 5 years, and 65% fail in only 15% of business stay for 15 years. So we have businesses that have been in existence since we were young, and as till today, you want to look at Google, you want to look like Apple, you want to look at Amazon. These are corporations that have been in existence way back, and up to now they're still running. So I take my time to read biography of these people, and you see something has been consistent. These people are not just people that put money into business and just go sit down waiting for magic to happen. You can do that as a VC, but if you really want to share that place and monitor it, there are core things you want to do. I was taking time to look at biography of Bill Gates, how even when Microsoft was that big, it still take time to make sure that key position that is coming to that key offices, it still take the time to interview the staff, because there are some core part of business, there are things you can't change. Even at that level, Microsoft, Facebook still face Senate on some business policies that affect them day by day. Jack Ma still face a lot of work with the rep, because politics will always play, the economy, all those things, there's little you can do about it, but the inside part of your business is what you can change, and if you don't pay attention to it, nothing will work unless you work it. And nobody can, because there's a CEO mentality, there's a employee mentality, there's how employee thinks. You just want to get the job
Let me use the Nigerian parlance. Nobody can love a business more than the owner.
Yes.
Okay.
So nobody can love it more than you do. And if you the owner don't work it, because people listen to what you say, but they do what you do. You understand? So as a business person, if you don't work it, you don't expect any employee to buy it for a penny. So if you give instruction and you think people will follow, no, they can follow it for a while, but it takes deliberate intention to be succeed. Zig Ziglar said something. He said, any dummy can be successful if he cares to know what it takes. There's no rocket science about all these things. There are principles that is very obvious. Only that not everybody is ready to pay the price of getting all these things in place, and it doesn't cost anything. If you don't want your brain to sweat, you will do the mania work.
Okay, so now for that, because you've mentioned the fact that there's always the CEO part, right? Now for that company or that organization that they already have that mistake with the CEO part, where I started the business, I'm the founder of the business, so I just at some point it's been running, and at some point I just feel like, let it just go, let me allow people to do their thing while I just sit back and relax. And later on, after the business keeps going, I've had the complaint of someone who says, okay, because I founded the business and I just want them to run the business, because after all, if the CEO dies, would the business die? So at that point, when he now leaves the business for the employees to do your thing, but make sure that this company, this baby that feeds you, does not crumble. Now there's already the mistake of him leaving that part, according to what you say, because there's already that gap, right?
So you don't have a business until that business can run without you. So but business is like an idea, is like a baby. You give birth to it, you keep nurturing it. At that beginning stage, you know that this baby needs maximum attention. It needs to be fed regularly. It needs to be monitored, because he can't stand on his own. But you get to a stage where that baby can walk on his own. All you just need to do is you can sit back and guide him. Okay, don't go there, don't go there. And the Bible says, teach your child in the way you should go, so that when you grow old, you can keep to that.
Depart.
Yes, it will not depart. It's a business principle. So as a CEO, it does not mean you have to be locked down on the chair, but until you build structure, until you build system, until you build a proper staffing,
okay,
until you put standard KPI, so what can measure your processes, what can measure all the system you have put in place to make sure that people is meeting up with your goals and objective, you can't step out. But you don't have a business until you can sit back and leave the business to go. The whole essence of starting business is to have your freedom to. Why do people want to do 9-to-5 job? Because they want safety, and they don't want to do the brain work for themselves. But for some, it might be process time, because you don't get your own until you get committed to someone else's own.
But somehow, sorry, at the bottom, isn't it contradicting what you talked about Microsoft, that has to go back to the Senate, or that has key staff? They're still the ones that do interviews, conduct the interviews for them.
So that is what I'm saying. So you don't expect Big Gate now to be in the day-to-day running of Microsoft as at today. No, it's not like that. You don't expect Elon Musk to be the one looking at the day-to-day operation of maybe Tesla today, as at today. At a time, it was like that, because they started as a small team. You don't expect Zuckerberg to be the one looking at the day-to-day running of that. But at a time, he has to give him that maximum attention. You understand? And one thing is very, very critical. So, when you have a Fortune 5,000 business, where a large corporation where you have like 3,000 staff, you can you can allow to have, there's not even how you can control it, whereby you don't have people bad marting, people disloyal staff, you can't control it at that level. But when you are still, your business is still at that small level where you have 5 staff, you have 10 staff, you can't allow it, because at that level it's still at the baby stage whereby it requires maximum attention. You can't allow any staff without integrity. You can't allow any staff without the skill set to get the job done, because you know, these are key. People employ sometimes based on emotion, based on these are,
and then it affects at the long run.
At the long run, so you start seeing people, because they don't have the competence to keep that office, they start playing politics to just sustain themselves, and you know, they want to do things in the organization just to find favor, and you know, start bad marting. And once the business get to that stage, at the early stage, you're already on your way to destruction. All
right, let's go on a quick break, and when we return, we'll continue this conversation with Kikiowo Ayoade. I'll see you after this time out. Join us again.
Businesses get their business model wrong. So there are different business models. So we have the small volume times small margin. That is for solopreneur. So just a small entrepreneur is doing small. So we have people that do larger margin, smaller volume. So what Coca-Cola is doing is small volume, small margin with a very large volume.
Help us explain that, especially to that person who is watching and say, what does that mean?
Okay, so your margin is the cost of production of this thing is 10 naira.
Okay.
And you want to sell 11 naira. So you know that you're just gaining 1 naira from this transaction. So if you are doing, if your volume, people you're selling to is 10 people, there's no how you can. So at the end of the day, your profit margin is 10 naira.
Okay.
So there's no how, there's no day you're going to break even with that, because there are other operational costs that you have to incur, a lot of things in keeping business running. But we are selling that 1 naira margin, we are selling to, let's say, a 2 million crowd. So you know, on
turnover.
Yes, on a weekly basis, you're having a turnover of 2 million naira by the time you gather all these things. So that is where these businesses has grown to, and they could maintain. So it is hard for businesses to come in and compete with them.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, this is The Conversation, reaching you from Kfatan Television Studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. If you just joined us, you've actually missed out on the first part of the show, but then you can still join in the second part, as my guest on the show today is Kikiowo Ayoade, who is the head of marketing at Amami Industries. All right, before we went on that break, you've actually talked to us on how one can sustain their business and why businesses fail. But now let's come back home, bring it back home to Nigeria, especially with the rate at which dollar is rising. I know that it affects especially industries the more. You see manufacturing or Manufacturers Association of Nigeria complaining. You see manufacturers complaining here and there. Most people are shutting down their businesses. So if you have, especially for those who are manufacturing one thing or the other, either in small scale or in a large scale, at such a time as this, how would they not just because I know that you have the part where you can just float, where you float, you have the part where you can swim, and then you have the part where they just sink. So at what point can they at least swim, if not so they don't sink?
Okay, so you know, when any business that has to do with importing, exportation, at this time is going to be very hard. And you know, at the point we are that constrained, because you know, at the time we're into majorly furniture, so we just bring in furnitures from Turkey, Italy, and you know, and we just sell here, and you know, you get customs cleared, and you just make your own little margin, and you can push to the market. But doing that now is very hard, because by the time you bring it in, nobody. I haven't heard that
custom duty. They're even looking at it again.
Clearing is another part of it. So you know, part of what creates push us to the point of starting our own door factory. Yeah, because you know, we want to bring in in a container. Maybe you can only load if they can load it very well, you can only load like 70 doors in a container. To clear that custom, looking at the overhead cost and your profit at the end of the day, very slim, and you know, you understand the economic reality of the country.
And we used to think that when we see those furnitures in those furniture houses, and then the amounts they put, we think that you guys are just slashing our necks anyhow.
So, because what you go through even with custom alone, you know, it's a entire big deal on its own. So necessity is the mother of invention. So we are pushed to the world to start assembling here.
Okay.
So now we still leverage importation, but what we do is the key things that we know that manufacturing here might still be a bit hard, we just bring them in. So we don't bring in doors. So we want to bring in the door panel, the frames. There are wood that we can sort out here, cook here in Nigeria to meet with the standard over there, what is still coming in. So what we are bringing in, so by the time we load a container before that, we can load just 100 doors. Now, by the time we just bring in the raw materials, so the raw materials, we can load in a container 2,000 doors, 2,000 raw materials. So we're just bringing the leaves. The other things we can get outsourced it here in Nigeria. By that time, when we get here, we get our team. Still, the labor manpower is from here in Nigeria, so we are paying them in naira. We already get trained staff that are already went there to train on what to assemble these things together. And we have foreign experts that just monitor the quality control. You know, at that point, now we can, a container that's supposed to, so before you can bring 2,000 doors to Nigeria, before you'll have, maybe you're already working with a 500 container. Now, one container can bring in raw material for 2,000 doors. So with this now, we are now producing in Nigeria. So money that is going out is less. You understand?
Okay.
So most of the times, the problem we always have, because the solution to our problem most of the time we think is external, but most of the time it lies within us. And now we can, what we are taking to the market, even prices, many of the time people don't understand. Most of the time they tend to think is the inferior product because it's by cheap. The time you bring in a, let's say, a security door from Turkey, it will cost you, and your profit minus everything, you cannot sell that door less than 500,000.
Okay.
And by the time we assemble here in Nigeria,
you mean one door, right?
Yes, one door, 550,000. So by the time we assemble here in Nigeria, get everything settled, package everything, we can sell at 300,000.
Okay.
And still make our profits, good profit margin.
Okay.
You understand? Taking that to the market, people want to think it's inferior.
Are you sure bullets will not penetrate this one?
So, you know, it's part of what, so the problem is just a problem of thinking. You have to find your way. You know, at the time, there's this funny conversation I had with one of my mentor a time ago. He stayed in the UK. And, you know, it's like, do our forefathers, were they sleeping when American and many of these developed countries were making, getting all this innovation and technologies in place, and all we care about is one God somewhere. And you know, he told me something, and that thing, it's deeply. He said, because we have good weather here, good culture, it didn't put pressure on people to think of innovative ways to do things. He said, during winter in their place, sometimes their temperature goes down to about minus 30, sometimes minus 15 and the like. So he said their ash, and you know, it's not good for planting. People need to eat. That those ash condition, culture, weather that they don't have, place necessity on them to bring about innovations. So when we have bad times like this, you know, COVID came, nobody planned for it, but still, there are a lot of things that emanate from that experience. There are a lot of new businesses that rise up from that experience, because as an entrepreneur, when people see problem, what we see is a solution, because we know around that problem, you put on your entrepreneurship glass and deeply look at it, there is a solution that you can get out of it that can be of value to people and they can pay you for. That is our entrepreneurial thing. So definitely there will always be problem time to time, but when we think deeply, the solution is always around it. That is the example I gave to you about how we were able to go about the door business. And now we're staying in business, and what we're pushing to the market is nobody can meet up with the price, because all of them are bringing in. There's no how, before you do your custom clearance, cost of logistic here, the dollar rate of purchasing over there, there's no how you can compete with what we are doing here.
Okay, so now for those business that they've been there for a very long time, again, I'll give an example of Coca-Cola, Nigerian bottling company. They've been there over time, but then you find out that regardless, they're still not so expensive. They still run at least, no matter what, the average Nigerian can still buy a bottle of Coke and drink. So how are they able to meet talking about use their SWOT analysis, their strength and weakness in terms of their internal capabilities and limitation, or then look at their opportunities and threats in terms of their external, and then still ensure that regardless, we're still in Nigeria, we're still, you go to travel abroad, you can still drink a bottle of Coke. I'm talking about, I'm looking at it in terms of just one Nigerian company that is saying that, how do you want me to deal? How?
You know, most of the time, businesses get their business model wrong. So there are different business models. So we have the small volume times small margin. That is for solopreneur. So just a small entrepreneur that is doing small. So we have people that do larger margin, smaller volume. So what Coca-Cola is doing is small volume, small margin with a very large volume.
Help us explain that, especially to that person who is watching and say, well, what does that mean?
Okay, so your margin is the cost of production of this thing is 10 naira.
Okay.
And you want to sell 11 naira. So you know that you're just gaining 1 naira from this transaction. So if you are doing, if your volume, people you're selling to is 10 people, there's no how you can. So at the end of the day, your profit margin is 10 naira.
Okay.
So there's no day you're going to break even with that, because there are other operational costs that you have to incur, a lot of things in keeping business running. But if we are selling that 1 naira margin, we are selling to, let's say, a 2 million crowd. So you know, on
turnover.
Yes, on a weekly basis, you're having a turnover of 2 million naira by the time you gather all these things. So that is where these businesses has grown to, and they could maintain. So it is hard for businesses to come in and compete with them. You know, this is what some bad business people do when they could get monopoly of some businesses. You understand? So when they know they already have monopoly of it, they could sell to. So Nigeria have a population about going to about 200 million people, and you know you can capture the 200 million market because you already have so that's how government do it. So what do you need to do? They can stop anybody bringing this particular product into the company. They give you the only right to bring it in, and you know you already have monopoly of the market, and so there's no amount you keep your profit margin in. You're sure that the volume is enough to cater for what you're running. So Coca-Cola is doing it. They have a large volume to reach out to, and there are quite a number of many other companies that is doing it. And most of their manufacturing, because their manufacturing factory is very close to us. Their manufacturing is done here in Nigeria at Abuja Edu Industrial Area. So as at now, they don't rely on foreign market to get things done. They have all the manufacturing plants here. They have a large volume. They are just working with a small margin. And food market is one of the lucrative industry you want to be in, because day by day people, so it's different from furniture. When you buy this furniture now, I don't expect you to come again and buy it tomorrow. You understand? Where do you want to keep it unless you're going to build a new house? You don't change your furniture on it. But food is a market that is being consumed day by day, so it's easier. So a small margin is more sweeter when you are in an industry that the consumption is daily money. So when you work with daily money, it's a very sweet business model, because day by day something is coming in. So the other business model of large margin, large volume, that's what we like. Large margin, large volume. So you understand. But you know, when you stay in business long enough, definitely if we get to a stage, your business will definitely grow.
All right.
And you have a larger reach, but no real business grow. That's why you see that even with millions of turnover, most of these businesses are doing on a monthly basis. They still don't play with the advertisement. They do no spend reaching out day by day, you know, as their community responsibility service and all these things. Because
how much does, sorry I have to butt in, how much does CSR do to any business at all?
So you know, there's what we call brand, and for large businesses, they know the value of this. You know, when they tell you how much many of these companies spend on their CSR, on their yearly budget for it, you'll be so amazed, because brand is how people perceive what you have. And you know, behind every successful business, there's a story around it. So if you don't tell people your story and don't create that experience of how you want them to feel and perceive your brand, definitely they will think it through themselves. They will. If you don't give it to them, they will think it themselves, and by the time they do that, they might not give your business the right image. And that's why you see why organizations spend so much on creating a picture, a storyline about their brand and what they want people to perceive about their business. And it's key to every business, because at the end of the day, people don't purchase based on what you. So a good product does not sell itself until. So there's how you go to the grocery store and you pass through, or a supermarket, you pass through a line that have similar products solving the same problem, but at the end of the day you end up choosing a particular one, and there's a reason why you might think it's natural, but it's never natural, because these are psychology of sales, marketing. There's a reason why you choose that. To you it might, but there's something in your subconscious that choose that. So you go to you want to buy close up, you get there, you see you saw close up, you saw different brand and you walk past everything and you went to take one. There's a psychology behind it. It's never automatic. There's something in your subconscious. You are checking the price, you're checking the color, you're checking, and sometimes you might have seen a video somewhere that how you saw how Picnic then did the advertisement around Canon work, or how it was so excellent and skillful about what it's doing, and how they go out sometimes
we not say one day it will make us proud.
Yes. So there's how they position it. So because there's an inner feeling that we have inside of everybody. We want things. How do you think people want to buy a car for $5 million? It's not different than when you buy one for $200. It moves. But there's this inner feeling, emotions that if we want to derive from. Why do people use iPhone? Why do people use Apple? Not because nothing special. There are a lot of other smartphones that could have done the same thing you're doing, but there's a spirit behind it, there's a CSR behind it, there's a story that they have sold to people, there's how it makes people feel,
or maybe a culture around it.
There's how when you hold it you feel maybe you were more superior to the other, but whether it's true or not, it's out there, and it's never it didn't happen automatically. Some people sat down, design it, and push it out to the market, and those things you can't achieve it until you pay key attention. So but is it now advisable for small business? So I was
going to ask you that. So as a marketer, would you advise a small business to go through that?
So there's a way to it. So at your beginning level, so like I said earlier, when I said you don't grow big to start planning where, you plan where to grow big. So you have to have those things in your. So there's a business forecast. So if you intend to go along or in your business, people do surface planning. Many people start business without the intention to go far. So they just think, let me just pump in this money, get a little profit, and sit back. Sometimes people don't tell it, but in their preparation and how they approach the business, you can see, no, this person is not really planning to go far. And it tells in your business. When you're going somewhere, that's how you wake up. So if you have a flight to catch tomorrow by 12 p.m., maybe traveling out of the country, definitely there's high tendency that by 5 a.m. you already wake up and you're just trying to check your luggage to be sure everything is well packed. There's how it's different from a Saturday morning. Maybe you don't have, is your off day and you're not going to work. There's how. So anybody going somewhere, there's how it wakes up. It tells you how you approach your business. It tells you how even at that beginning stage you have to. So they are at low budget, because at that small level your business still needs much more attention, and definitely you might have a low capital to work with. So you want to make sure that, so there's what we call the Pareto principle, which is the 80-20 principle, that 20% of what brings in the money. So 80% of what we do in the business is not what brings in the money. So it's the 20% that brings in the money. So it applies to every part of our life. Is a economic principle that has been widely accepted. So at that minimum point, you want to make sure, after identifying the cost part of the business, you've put it in place, the branding, the marketing, the production, and everything. So you want to make sure that at that point, what you're spending the 80% of the money, the capital you have on, should be on the what is really shifting the needle and bringing in the income. Because without profit, you can't keep in business. You don't want to run a business that you have to start praying to pay your staff at the end of the day when you are not shammed.
All right, so we'll definitely, before we round up the program, I've seen I've gotten so many social media comments, and then someone was asking about, most people are always asking about what businesses I can start with. So in fact, I saw one that said, what kind of business can I start with 50K? And I'm like, in my mind, in this day Nigeria. But okay, anyways, we'll get an analyst to help them to analyze that later. So that we'll talk about that later. But then let's speak to us about the importance of merging. Either you're doing a merger, or you want to like an integration, or like I'm into, say, fashion business, and then I want to bring in a cameraman or something different from what I do, or something even related to what I do. And then some people will say, okay, because it's not working, let me just diversify and just leave this my fashion business and then just go straight into something completely different. So speak to us about how important it is, especially in this day in Nigeria. So,
there are 4 stages of value. The first stage is implementation. The second stage is unification. The third stage is communication, and the last stage is imagination. You might want to consider what am I saying? For every business you are in, or any business you want to start, they're in these 4 levels, and depending on the level you're working in, it determines what you're getting in the business. So it is important for business to always have intention and put in practical and intentional plan to always move to the upper levels of value, because the higher you move on these 4 levels, the more money you can make and the more free time you can have for yourself. So I will take for the fashion business you talk about as an example. So the fashion business is depending on if it's the regular fashion business in Nigeria, so most likely you are working on the first level of value, which is implementation. Implementation is when you work with both your power, so we work with your hand, labor, and time, because those are the 2 functions you are working with. So definitely you want to make this suit for me now. This suit, you don't make it in, let's say, I don't know how long it takes to make suit, but let's assume maybe 1 hour. You can make a full suit in 1 hour, and let's say in a day, that means you can make more than, you have to sleep for 8 hours, you have to rest maybe 2 hours. So in a day you can't make more than 14 suits or 12 suits or thereabout. So there's a limit when you're working at implementation level on what you can make in your business, because success is a spiritual outcome. But when you join time is a limited commodity. Energy, which is what you put in, you have to press the machine, cut, you're using your energy, is a limited resources, because definitely you get tired. So when you're working with energy and time, you can't have a spiritual outcome, which is real-time success. So you want to look at how you can start. So unification is when you go to an organization, you see most of the people that does the real work get lesser pay. So you see the manager that oversee. So these are just people that are put to oversee people working in the implementation level to get the job done. You understand? They get a little pay higher than people really getting the job done, because they're also using a spiritual. Because when you control people, when you work with human being there's a level of it's not, most of the time it's not ordinary. And so the third level, which is communication, is very powerful, because let's take for instance you're into sewing. So now take for instance, you can now package your sewing experience, how someone can start that sewing business, pack it into a video, get a cameraman to record it, how people can sew suit from beginning to start. So it takes you 1 hour to sew. You have a 1 hour recording, you can bring it into segments, put it on Seller, is a app where you can upload your information content on, and put it, let's say, so you sew a suit for, let's say, $200, and you can now put it out for, say, for $70 or even $100. Put some little of advertisement to it. Definitely, in a day you can only sew 12 suits. That means in a day the highest you can make is $200 times 12. That's about $2,400. That video that you make one time, you can sell to 1 million people. At $100, that's about 100 million. You can make over time with proper marketing and planning. That is a marketing course that we can talk about. So that is why you can see someone can write a piece of book and can sell just an idea you have. It can even be about the implementation level you're working. So I always tell business owner, you're not just in the business of because a lot of people get so attached to their skill and they don't want to, they forget that they're in business. So they're just so concerned about the production part, and they also saw other core part of the business that have to run. If you don't run effectively, business will get you overwhelmed. So you see people at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, they are still running about to deliver a client job and every other thing because they have not paid attention. So people can diversify, but before you diversify, make sure that you are operating at the highest level of that your business before you think of going into there's not enough time. I could have explained all the levels of values and break it down. So for people that want to go into other, thinking of what to start with business, so there's no need of you already, or I can
please go ahead.
Okay, so there's no need of recreating the wheel. When we talk about business, what we are talking about is there's a problem somewhere, you have a solution to it, and you can provide, and that problem you are sure that people are willing to pay for it. You understand? So that is what is business. So I guess I want to dry clean my clothes. I don't have the time to say I want to sit down to, I hate washing, to iron, do this, push stash and everything. So I have someone that can do this, and I'm just giving him 1,000 to do this. To me, 1,000 is what the quality of what I'm getting. To him, with a large volume, is in business. So that is what business is about. So what can you start with that? So there are already forms of value that are out there. You don't need to reinvent it. We should just look at what. So I will make mention of some. So you want to look at products. So maybe you can create a product, not necessarily a physical product. It might be an information product, like I talked about. Maybe you have a skill you're doing. You can get it recorded and put it as an information product that you can sell to people. That is a product level. There's a service. So you have something you can do, a service business. You can cut it's already a service business that you can start with any amount and start growing when you put the core part of what we have identified earlier into your business system structures, staffing, and what your standard. You want to look at lease, so you can acquire a property that you know people want to use, and start renting it. That you have people that get a car, they can rent it out for people to use. So lease is a form. So you see amusement park where people go to, people just get a property. You see service apartment, people just get an accommodation, get it well suited for people to use. People come into town, they need a place to stay for 5. They don't want to stay in an hotel. They can rent your apartment for a while. You understand? Get your money, and you see playground. Even now we have corporate office. You don't need to get and rent an office apartment. People get it built for you. What you just need to do is get a space. There's already
so that means you're more like an agent here.
Yes. So I'm just talking of forms of value that you can operate in with any amount. So you just want to look at what is you understand? What is what form of value can you operate? You don't need to. There are already I did a YouTube video some time ago where I listed all the forms of value that you can operate in with what. So everything, nobody can think for you. You understand? And circumstances is always different for everybody. So it's just for you to sit down, look at what you have, and look at. So it's what you have is always enough if you can take your time to think about it and do the thinking. Most of the time people want people to think for them. They just want to that's why you see people fall most of the time into trap of bring your money, I will work it for you, and a lot of fun experience, but I know time is not on our side.
Thank you so much. That's a very good place to anchor there. I hear you say that people always want people to think for them, but think for yourself. Thank you so much, Kikiowo. It's been a wonderful time having this talk with you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I'm really glad to be here.
Awesome. All right, viewers, I'm sure you must have learned quite a number of things, especially for those who are always asking, which business will I start with my 10K, with my urgent 2K? Now, think for yourself and don't wait for someone to think for you. It's been a wonderful time here on The Conversation as we've been chatting with Kikiowo Ayoade, who is the head of marketing at Almani Industries. And it's been a wonderful time here on The Conversation. Like I said, I'm hoping that you have rightly been entertained, informed, and educated. My name is Annabelle Oji. God bless you and yours. God bless Nigeria.